go ahead. Let's have a rehearsal here. Now,
Okay.
you.
It's occurred to me that you're the first musician who really began to set clothing styles. That you're the first person that, because of the next 30 years. And does that ring a bell at all with you? Can you see that as being true?
Now let me see. Yeah, well,
And I mean
it can
specifically
be
the
true.
Zoot suit.
Eh?
The Zoot suit, which really became a fad, which really, and that was you. That was something that you started.
Yes, that was a form of dress that I used. Now, I don't know whether you don't want me to associate this with a band or associate it with
When you first
with
when you first started
with
wearing
show
the Zoot
business, you
suit,
know.
was it something that you saw and picked up on, or did you create that sort of, or did you make it more exaggerated? This is something that you saw on the street and said, "That's it. That's me. I'm going to take this and make this bigger and more flamboyant."
Sort of to that effect, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you were working off street fashion, and then you exaggerated it for the stage, but then you must have seen it come back to you from people on the street too, who then began to dress like you did.
Well, the trouble with that is it never got too popular. See, it never got too popular.
We think of it as being really a big thing, a big look. But who wore it? Who were the people that wore it?
It was originally worn in England. The Buddy Boys, they're the first ones that wore them. That group of youngsters in England, there was a club called the Buddy Boys. And they're the first ones that's where I got it from. And of course, I may have exaggerated on it because it was originally started out more or less as a top coat, not as a suit. It was a long coat that they used. Instead of a top coat, they used this long coat with the broad shoulders, and that was it. And the hat, I really exaggerated that because the hat they had, it was nothing like the one that I brought out. Because I designed the hat and had it made big with the sharp, with all that in it. And it got popular for a while there, and I loved it, and I thought it was great because it fit right in with my style, and with the chain and it also was the origin of a lot of poses and dances that they are doing today.
And when you first saw people, what did you think? Because your fans began to dress like you. All of a sudden, you could look into an audience and see yourself in multiple. Did you understand what was happening there? Did you know you were creating a fashion trend with that?
Well, not any more so than I had. Then I did the white tails, the white full dress. I originated that for a front, as a dress. The white full dress, the white shoes and everything was white, and that was my original style of dress for the bands. I had at one time I had my whole band in full dress, and I put them in another color, and I was with the white, and they were with the other color. Well, but the band never wore the Zoot suit. I was the only one that wore the Zoot suit, and the Zoot suit was replete with the. It was righteous, man. It was dipped from the top of your, from your lid to your treaders, and you were sharp. And when you dig this, man, it was something. Everybody said, "Man, look at that cat. He is really, really coming on. He is talked from his conch to his stomps. Got on a thread there that will gash you."
Now, what could fashion do for a performer? Things were pretty competitive in those days. You had to really stand out. What do you think your clothes did for you in terms of making you a star? Wasn't it pretty important to your image?
Well, it was. Yes, it was. It was my idea of. My idea was to be immaculate, be dressed to the finest, and to put on an ordinary suit. I didn't think would be the way to display that, but to put on something extraordinarily different from anything that was an ordinary dress. I thought was just fabulous. And I thought
that make a difference?
Yes, I thought it made a great, and well, it made an identification different, because I soon become very, very well established and identified by my clothes, by the suit, and by the full dress, and various types of tuxedos. I started that. I originated all of that, all of the different colors. I have now in my wardrobe maybe 20 different colored tuxedos, all colored different colors of full dress suits, and all different colored Zoot suits. I had 3 colors. I had a green Zoot suit.
Do you remember in the 50s when rock and roll performers like Little Richard and Chuck Berry first were around publicly? They wore a kind of updated version, to my mind, of the Zoot suit, especially Little Richard, who wore baggy white suits, a little bit of a peg, shaped and draped. Did you notice then that there was a transition in the works? Did you see them as being an extension of your style at all, those performers?
I don't know. I wouldn't say yes, and I wouldn't say no, because I really don't know how often. I don't think I haven't seen Little Richard perform. I haven't seen. I haven't seen Ray Charles perform, as far as that's concerned. I don't see performers perform because I'm too busy performing myself, and I never get a chance to see them.
Performing so much as your personal style, the way you decked yourself out, because if I put those pictures out in front of you now, you'd see a very real connection between the way you looked, the way you dressed, and their look, too. It's very obvious that they were doing a sort of a take on you. Have you ever noticed that? I guess you're too busy doing your own stuff.
That's right. I was too busy doing my own stuff, and I have been busy and continue to be busy doing it.
Now, are you familiar with Kid Creole? Do you know of him?
Yes, I know of Kid Creole.
Now,
Isn't he with the Manhattan? No.
He's got his own group.
Yeah, his own group. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yeah. I.
Now, his visual presentation is just an outright homage to you.
Right,
It's just
right,
you.
right,
It just says,
right.
I love you, Cat.
That's right.
Now, can you talk a little bit about him and what you see in that? Is it wonderful? Is it nostalgic?
Yes, it is. It is his nostalgia, and he's the closest thing. He is the closest thing to me that I have ever seen. I mean, they've had a lot of people at different times to impersonate me, do me, but he is tops, and a very, very fine fella. He's
Has
a
he
nice
caught
guy.
the spirit of what you were doing with your clothes? Is he? I think he has. He's got the most style with his own personal fashion of anybody that's around. What
Yeah.
do you think of the things that he wears? Obviously, he's wearing zoot suits and very tailored, beautiful fabrics.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the way you see him. What do you see when you look at him?
Yeah, I can see him as Calloway. I can. And the only one, and a matter of fact, when they want, they did, if they had consulted me on that picture, that Cotton Club would want somebody to portray me, I would have seen that he was that. He would have been the one.
Okay. Is there anybody else that you think of at the time you were really setting the pace with fashion, like Louis Jordan, anybody else that you think was a real influence on fashion, not on music, but because of the place that they held, they were in the public eye, like you were capable of setting any kinds of...
Liberace. Well, what can I tell you? That's the only one I know.
How about in the 40s, or late 40s, 50s?
No. No.
Unparalleled.
Ellington was a fashion plate. He was immaculate all the time. He wore beautiful clothes, but was nothing like my stuff. It was altogether different. But he was a fashion plate. But I can't recall any band leader if you come to just wore their suits or tuxedo. Once in a while you see one in a full dress.
For me, there's a real connection between what you wore and the spirit of what would then become rock and roll. Just the raucousness of it, the flamboyance.
Mhm.
Do you identify on any level with rock fashion? When you look at it today, what do you think? Do you think those kids are crazy, they've lost it? When you look at Boy George, or do you just say, that's style, it's okay?
I don't look at it that way. I look at it as being the father of it. That's the way I look at it. I think if anybody started rock and roll, I did. I never got credit for it. Nobody ever. But there was never been another one that come along, a singer that improvised the melodies as much as I did, which eventually wound up being rock and roll.
Now, tell me just a little bit, talk to me a little bit so we could use this later on at the end of this piece when we're looking at contemporary rock fashion. You know, of Boy George and the women who wear suits, Annie Lennox, who's with Eurythmics. Can you tell me a little bit what you think about them? Can you describe how they look to you? Do they look great? Do they, does that appeal to you? Do you think they're really in the spirit of things and the spirit that you created yourself?
Well, it is altogether different than what I came up with, I tell you that. Because it seems to me that they have gotten to the point where they don't care what they look like and what they dress in. And the only thing that only fault I have with rock and roll and rock and roll performers is that they are too, how can I say this now? They are too individualized. They're too individual. They're too more for themselves than they are for the audience. You follow me? You see what I mean? I mean, they are thinking about themselves, and they're not worrying about their audience. Now, I think their audience also is thinking the same way.
So it works.
It works. That's the only way it works. But you see, when I first started this rock business, I was in a different style of dress. But now they don't. I mean, they go out on with a sweatshirt and say, I would never be caught dead on stage with a sweatshirt before an audience. And I'd never turn my back on an audience. I'd never do that.
If you were just starting out today, how do you think you would shape your image? Would you be in a Zoot suit? Would you be Kid Creole? Or would you be Prince? Would you be Boy George? Where do you think you'd go?
Well, if I start out today, I start out as me, I could change myself to save my life. And whatever would come out to me to start, that's the way it would be.
Let me ask you about a few people, and when I say their names, you might just want to say, well, Prince, or what do you think about Prince's fashion sense, his ruffles and his tight pants and his rhinestones?
It's all right. That's good. Same as the Zoot suit. That's a style. I don't mind that. That's real cool.
Tell me again and say Prince. You know, I don't mind Prince. It's because I like what you just said.
No, I don't mind what Prince wears. I know what I think he's sharp because I think Prince is putting on. He's doing the Calloway. He's coming on, man, with them fine drapes with silks and rhinestone jazz and all of that jazz. Well, that's beautiful. That's wonderful.
How about somebody like Cher, who's almost a movie star, and she changes costumes 2 or 3 times a minute, and she's really glamorous. She's super glamorous. How do you like her approach, which is just?
No, I can't answer because I haven't seen that much of Cher. I doubt if I've seen her 2 or 3 times. I don't have time to see artists.
Boy George, anybody? Yeah, try Boy George. How about Boy George, a man who wears dresses quite a lot of makeup? How does that grab you?
Well, we've had that before. We'll always have that.
Do you remember the period during the 70s when all of the male singers did drag dressing, wore makeup, David Bowie, those kind of people?
Yeah, we had a little of it, and wasn't too prominent, though. I can remember a few of them, yeah.
Let's see.
Because they called that going in drag. They were in drag. They were real cool. They put their shows on. It was something else. They were really fine.
Okay.
I remember seeing one show in Germany, man. And cats put on a show, man. They were dragged down, and it was a 40 show. And fine-looking chicks they were.
Oh, dear. I'd like to think of have you comment on a few people, just because we might be able to bring that in at the end.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else that you look at and you say, that's crazy, that's wonderful, of the new rock singers? Cyndi Lauper. Thank you, Barry. You know her? She's the one that has like everything on. Everything in the closet on.
What's her name?
Cyndi Lauper with the orange hair. And,
I don't think I've seen
let's see. Who else?
I'm not up on it, baby. Really, I'm not.
You'd know her if we had her. Believe
Yeah.
me, you would know her. Let's see. How about Diana Ross? Diana Ross.
Diana Ross?
Mm-hmm. Her clothes.
Well,
She's striking.
Diana's all right. Her dress is rather pleasing. I don't know what she's trying to really do. I mean, what she's trying to put down, or she's trying to be the Miss Glamour of 1999 or what? But It's all right.
Okay. Okay. I think we got lots of good stuff from you.
You think so?
I think, yeah. I think we're in real good shape.
Good.
That's wonderful.